What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 15 of On the 50. Today, I have my good friend, Dr. Michael Nickens, on the podcast, aka Doc Nicks. He is the director of athletic bands at George Mason University. Within that department, there are a range of ensembles, including an independent world drumline, an independent world color guard, a pet band, a fife and drum corps, and various other programs and educational outlets. Doc Nicks was educated. He got his bachelor's at the Manhattan School of Music, his master's at Yale, and his DMA at Michigan. He is thoroughly educated. He has such a range of experience playing in ensembles of various natures, and he has a deep love for the marching arts of all kinds. This episode is a ride. He is just a creative wellspring. Every conversation I've had with him ever, I take something away that is valuable. He is super creative, super open-minded, and just kind of an enigmatic personality. He is really fun to work under. He is a very motivational person, an energetic person, and he has always been extremely supportive of the work that we do with the indoor drumline. I think this is going to be really, really great for anyone who is just a musician of any type. But brass players, he is a tuba player, so I think this is going to be great for you. This is going to be great for anyone who is a designer, an educator, an adjudicator, or anyone who wants to get into the field of music in any regard. I think this is definitely up your alley. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it today.
Boy, the past experiences. I was at a evaluation festival for marching band. You know, they do the assessment and you get your not your score, but you get your superior rating and your excellent rating, right, and that kind of thing. And I'm sitting there because one of the shows that I wrote that was being performed, and so I go and I'm just watching the bands. You know, instead of going through the warm-up rotation, I wanted to watch all the different groups. So I'm sitting in the bleachers, and I think the school's name was Booker T. Washington. The Booker T. Washington, whatever their marching band is called, they were going to do their show, and I had watched what we always watch at a high school band, a very core style, heavy influenced type of performance from each group. And you know, some of them are out there playing, you know, concert band music, and then they adapted it to the field and they do their show, and they did a good job, and they sound balanced and good, and they do their forms and bravo, and you get your superior rating. Everyone starts and stops at the same time, plays together, stuff's in tune enough. Fantastic. Here's your superior. The groups that are involved with me inevitably end up playing Motown or Guns N' Roses or something like that. Sometimes it's a mixed show. Sometimes it's just what the band is. Not that I haven't written. I've written, concert band music, orchestral music. I've done all that stuff too. But this group in particular was doing a rock show. But then Booker T. Washington comes out, and there's some obvious differences right from the beginning. Clearly, this is a school in a black neighborhood, and clearly the director has a deep understanding of the HBCU tradition. And then just the names of the it's like, it's one thing to get out and hear Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses. It's a whole other thing when it's like the music of Schack Khan. And I'm sitting there looking at the audience, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm the only person who knows who Schack Khan is right now. You know, just I don't know. I didn't ever really check on that, but it was sort of the feeling I had at the moment. And then they don't put the drum major on a podium because, think about that part of the drum major tradition where you try your best to find Schack to be the drum major, right? You try to find some tall beanpole, come out and just conduct as part of the unit and conduct from the field. And the kid is, looks like a communication pole or something. He's just arms for days. And he was able to conduct from the field. And then just the different type of presentation that shows off the style of marching is a little different. The aesthetic of the brass playing is different. There are drums on the field that you wouldn't see necessarily in some of the other groups. And they came out and they had a deep understanding. The students had a deep understanding of the traditions that they were bringing forward, and then executed it. There's just, to me, in my mind, it's just I couldn't understand why they got a 2. I couldn't understand it, and I knew a couple of the judges, and I even asked them about it, and their responses were that I basically caught them off guard by asking, and I'll say that's probably the best way to describe what happened. But it's like, in the conversations, it sort of revealed that, one of the comments was, the judges' sheets are not set up to judge that type of marching band. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I know judges' sheets. I know we're talking about group and individual execution. I know we're talking about the intent of the design and how that connects to the execution. I know it's about starting notes on time, stopping notes on time, moving together, stopping together. I know there's a GE thing where there's a spirit of the performance, and are they bringing across the the aesthetics and the sort of the sensibility of the whole thing. It's like, if I've never known a judge's sheet, I know that that's what it says. The one thing that's a little bit of a, I crinkle my nose and make a face a little bit. It's like, all right, the brass playing is based on a different idea of marching brass performance. A couple years ago, I was blessed to go to the band day for the Rose Bowl, and this marching band from Uganda was there, brass band from Uganda. And let's just say they had about 25% in terms of numbers for the bands that went before and after them.
Yeah.
But their sound was twice what those other bands were making,
right,
because of the approach, a very muscular approach to playing brass. Now, me as a brass pedagogue, I would say, especially like in an orchestral setting, that wouldn't necessarily be my first choice to play Bruckner or Mahler or something like that. But I will definitely say that the conditioning that comes with that sort of playing set me up to have a lot more control over my instrument as I was, getting back into concert music after, spending the summer on the field with the cadets. But anyway, my real point was the brass playing aesthetic based on, if you listen to Rebirth, if you listen to the Hot Eight, those are professional bands. And the brass playing of this high school marching band was more based on that aesthetic. And so then it's like I said, I kind of roll my eyes and say, all right, well, if the judging panel has decided that that's not a preferred method for brass playing, then they're dead in the water if that's what they choose. What I would prefer to have seen would have been judges ready to understand that they're bringing a different approach to the table, and it's based on this other thing. And so they're as good at that as this other group is as good at what they're attempting to do. I would have preferred to have seen that instead of a 2.
Right.
Yes. But like I said, me even bringing it up, I could tell caught them off guard. And the thing I was not trying to do was attack them on it on this Saturday afternoon after they've been judging for 6 hours. And just none of that was my intention. But it has got me thinking about it ever since. And I think about the performances we put together, performances that have been in the pep band, performances that have been in the indoor drum line, and the ability to bring these styles in a way that, for the pep band, if we want raw power, then we're all about raw power. So it's like, there's no judge sitting there telling us some number about how we did. Our judge is, we got 5,000 people in front of us, and there's everybody clapping and screaming, and then the judge is there.
What comes up for me is a canon. You're talking about the ability for a certain panel of judges not only to evaluate, rank, give a rating to a group, but that based on the canon that certain medium is based in, they don't even have access to, there's no entry point. They're like,
yeah,
you did Shaka Khan. It's almost like an invisibility problem. It's like, we can't even look over there. We can't even give you an evaluation or analysis because this is not something that we do in this medium. And it's very odd. If you ask me, I find that in music to be such an odd thing. And I'm much more familiar with the idea of literary canons because I'm formally trained in literature. The same problems come up where we have canonized these certain pieces, and if you go outside of them, it's beyond the scope of any analysis to the point of erasure. And the problem with this is it's the same thing. It's the same language. Like, why is Schack Khan? Why is Schoenberg? Why is improvisational jazz so different than Bruckner, Mozart, what have you, right? It's almost like, aren't we doing the same thing? Yet here we have these major divisions, these major no zones where it's like, oh, you can't go there because that's not in the proper canon. And it's like, I thought we're all playing music, and you're talking about one band to the next in a marching band festival. This is not like some radical departure, right?
Right. So I want to go back to what I said about style sort of being the tip of the iceberg of a full-on practice, right? If the audience comes together sort of in the spirit of a thing, then when you deviate from that, some of it comes from just the fear that it's going to alienate the audience, which then could separate you from your financial backing or something like that.
Right.
Your overall public approval and things like that. But part of what we're saying is, but this music didn't come from nowhere. We're just talking about a different group of people and their practice. And we're trying to say, here's a way we can invite them in by just letting them do their show. I definitely see the strength of popping numbers and giving awards and placements, but I hope that everyone always remembers that we're using that as a carrot for achievement, not truly trying to come up with a pecking order of which school was able to put together the most clever arrangements and raise the most money so that they can put their trampolines and their catapults on the field or whatever thing. It's like, who raised the most money? Okay, so you're first place. And it's like, well, we can make it about that if we want to, but I just know that I will opt out at some point because at some point it gets so far away from the core of what we're trying to accomplish that I can't support it. I can't. It's like it's lost what it's kind of trying to be. I love a freaking airplane on the WGI floor. It was incredible, but I'm not necessarily running to try to top that because every bit of effort, in my mind, should go into, well, couldn't we have helped one more kid fundraise to be in the group instead of doing that? Couldn't we have covered somebody's membership dues that their family had a disaster, but we still want to make sure this kid stays in the group? Like, I'd rather put the funds towards that. I'd rather put the funds towards, let's get some innovative writing going and that scaffolds the techniques that we're trying to build over 5 years based on how we write our arrangement, so that 5 years from now we're going to be able to do something musically that we've been setting ourselves up to do for half a decade. I'd rather think about it like that. Airplane on the Court is amazing. Holy crap. But I'm just saying, my personal choice, I see myself tending towards, can we reinvest in the core, the real core of what we're trying to accomplish? As flashy and wonderful and amazing as a achievement as that was, and it's like, gosh, please don't hear me saying that I'm saying negative about that specific thing, but I'm just saying there's a reason why you don't see me choosing that, and it's just because of the choices I'm trying to make for us as a community. I was also thinking about, like, every time we've talked about a design idea, and the comments basically being, we can't do that with our standing now. We have to basically win first, and then we can innovate in that kind of way. And I know that's real. It's like, I would hate to mess up our chances at retention and recruitment just because I'm trying to make a statement on, but we can do, this is drumming too, and we could do this drumming also, and no one's doing it, and we'll differentiate ourselves that way. But it's like, yeah, we could do that, but we run the risk of not being able to recruit well later if our placement drops because no one understands the thing that we're trying to bring into the mix. So we're going to chase the compulsory thing until we become the best at the compulsory thing. Even though the shows are all different, there's a thread in there that we have to like adhere to that was laid down by the successful groups that have come before us. Obviously, we want to pay homage to their success, but we know in an open free market, disruption happens, and the new thing is the new thing, not necessarily because there's ill will towards the establishment, but simply because an innovation just comes and it makes something obsolete. It's just a natural thing that happens sometimes, right. And so that's why for me the sort of like pan global stylistic thing is the most interesting thing to me, because I believe down that path leads to inclusion of more varied demographics of members, of audience, of all that, because they see themselves, feel themselves, learn about themselves by doing, instead of us trying to twist everybody to this compulsory thread. And it's like, if you don't, whoever does the most effective twisting, that gets you first place. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I want to do that, but what I actually want to do is I want to unleash what is the natural strength of the people that are here with us, and I want to be rewarded for that, which, like I said, happened with the pep band. And it's like I'm just dreaming of that happen within the marching competitive world. Not because necessarily I'm saying it won't mean anything if I don't make first place. It's like, whatever. If we do this properly, then the idea of first place isn't the main priority. However, I recognize that if we don't achieve in placement, then it's harder to recruit the better, stronger performers. And they'll, it's like I understand there's a balancing act there, but it's like it just kind of breaks my heart when we back off of an idea that is truly unique and could just be a strong artistic statement, not just for the sake of being different, but saying something very powerful and relevant.